first saved message.
George, good morning. I figured you wouldn't answer the phone. Seems like Vic got to you. I knew you had a comic book agenda, but I guess I'm watching Guardians of the Galaxy so that I can talk about both movies in two separate episodes. I thought we all agreed that comics weren't sci-fi. That was just nerd sport or whatever. I don't know. You try to justify it someday. Another thing, man, Tony the intern isn't really doing the listing all the stuff we talk about on the website thing, man. And I thought we asked him to do that. Anyways, boy, I can't wait to go see a space raccoon look cute with that guy from that movie where he killed that woman. Bye-bye.
End of message.
Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi.
Finally.
I just did it.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good morning.
I'm George.
I'm Kevin.
We are bushy dilettantes discussing science fiction.
That's all Tony could. Hold on. He said
the best.
Tony said to try and hold on. He said to try it like this. The bougie dilettantes discoursing science fiction.
Was that Italian or French?
I thought it was French. Do you know how this works?
I don't. Actually.
Come on. Just try a Russian. You'll sound Mexican.
Clearly, from all the technical difficulties we had, I don't have any idea how this works.
Yeah.
Welcome to Busy Dads Do Sci-Fi, Bougie Dilettantes Discoursing Science Fiction. Thank you, Tony. You are a golden god for writing these brilliant little plays on the name of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I'm tired, man.
You are?
Yeah. It's been a full, good day.
Your clock is stopped? Or is that some reference to some, is that a prop?
That's a Twilight Zone thing going on.
Are you kidding me?
It's because it ticks very audibly and we're recording a podcast.
Oh, you mean you unplug that every night?
No.
I don't do that.
I don't stop it. Because clearly he's not the best at what he does. Because I say, Tony, hey, do me a favor, stop the clock. All right, he's going to find a way to end the world. Pull the battery out,
right?
Pull the battery out.
Let him hold a step ladder.
I did that. Yeah. I did that like a year ago. When we started recording. So really? I was hoping it would make me younger. Yeah.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Well, this
infantile.
There's a portrait of an old me in the attic. So I can't ever look at it.
That's an Oscar Wilde reference.
Yeah,
was that proto sci-fi? No, that's just. I
don't know. It's
Tales of the
kind of monster. It's monstery.
I bet Bougie Dilettantes would discourse it.
Did you ever read any of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
I did a ton. Remember, I was hospitalized, and you brought me a ton of it, and I read it in a dilaudid haze.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Dorian Gray is in the movie version of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and he's immortal, but he can never look at the portrait of his old self. Otherwise, he'll turn into like a decrepit, which was a comic book.
Was there a character named Dilaudid in that, too?
He was a big blue,
soft kind of cotton swab thing?
It was Dill-Lauded. It was like, hi there, I'm Detective Dill-Lauded. Private Eye.
Now, I'm gonna do something that's usually reserved for you, but League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, is that a graphic novel?
It is a graphic novel.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, though?
What?
It goes by another term, which is almost, it's almost trying to be phased out here, is that comic book.
The comic book
League of
is phased
Extraordinary
out?
Gentlemen is a comic book.
Would you turn your phasers to what? To eliminate the comic book?
I love the term comic book, but if you see a lot of these lot of these adaptations that are done of comic books, they usually refer to them as graphic novels. This is, you look at Walking Dead and it says based on the graphic novel by Robert Kirkman. And Walking Dead.
This is how we get the bourgeoisie to read comic books.
This is how we get the dilettantes to discourse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Is it like a
what is a
teenage
dilettante?
Woman who's being released in like Southern Gothic society?
I don't know.
I think
for some reason
yes.
I get a 1920s like a gangster thing in my head. I know it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Don't Google it.
No Googling.
Anti-Google clause.
But I picture like Elliot Ness with a Tommy gun going, you dilettantes. No, not at all.
That's the opposite of having a gift, George.
That's a curse.
That's it. All right.
Wait,
all right,
back to Dorian Gray. Okay,
hey! All right.
Which brings us back to comic books, which brings us back to movies adapted from comic books, which
brings us back to apparently part 1 of 2 of this thing you've got me roped into.
I wait a minute, hold on. Let's take a second and talk about this. What do you mean thing I got you roped into?
Guardians of the Galaxy. Hey, Kevin, watch that episode.
So you weren't going to let me do a creative segue into Guardians of the Galaxy? We were just
going there? No, I creative segued on graphic novels.
Man, okay.
Like, remember, I even told you, I said, something that is usually reserved for you.
Do you think because I'm a comic
Hold
book
on,
fan?
let's just reel it back a couple seconds.
Okay,
George,
that's fine.
Set up Guardians of the Galaxy.
So, Kevin, have you ever guarded a galaxy?
Yes, exactly. That sometimes they're just that novel.
Yeah, it's good. Graphically.
Yeah.
Great minds, Kevin.
The ice cream's really talking tonight.
Well, it was Denali Dilettant Moose Tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think because I'm a big comic book fan that I had something to do with roping you into Guardians of the Galaxy and us talking about it?
I mean, you must have.
I did, in a way.
What do you mean in a way? You told me earlier you didn't.
I mean,
I realize that we come to these microphones for you to admit things like about how you got parking tickets and your wife listens to the episode and then realizes, it's kind of like confession for you.
I got another one. But, no. She knows about it, though. She knows about it. It's good. And it was on Cesar Chavez Day, so I think I'm going to fight it.
Really? I think you're supposed to strike it.
No offense
fight it.
to any of the Cesar Chavez supporters. But anyway.
That's another one on the list.
There we go.
Yeah,
he's gone.
Great.
Well, so we come about this content in a very fluid way, I think. Usually there's a couple of phone calls, a few discussions, and I do recall it just sort of springing into my head like, hey, Guardians of the Galaxy is coming up. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is coming up. Maybe we should check out the first one. Well, you got the phone call from Vic.
I did not. I thought you said you got a phone call.
Well, I assume you called both of us. No, I got...
No!
Well, all right. Yeah, well, there was a phone call.
We don't need to talk about this anymore. Clearly,
okay.
All right, let's...
it was a phone call.
Hey, you know what? Let's talk about some nice long space opera books. No, we don't do that. We'll watch comic books on screens.
That's good. That's
cool. Why don't you set us up then, George?
That's good. That's good, Kevin. It's a good way to just immediately denigrate this fine motion
denigrate?
picture. Yeah. My God. Am I setting up the world? That's usually your thing.
Yeah, I should actually here.
Yeah, okay. Set up the world, Kevin.
Guardians of the Galaxy, the original.
Careful.
What?
Well,
the first one.
The first movie. The original. The Guardians of the Galaxy have a pretty rich history as far as comic books
I feel
go.
like everyone already knows what this is. See, we're already talking about what I wanted to talk about when I hear that we're doing this, which is great.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Next 2 episodes, Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's going to be a whole heap of galaxies and guardians.
Yeah.
And guys that are blue that look human.
In case you didn't get it in your Happy Meal, there's a raccoon, a plant, a green chick, a blue dude, and a humanoid.
For the record, I just actually slapped my armrest. Because from Kevin's insinuation of pop culture ad nauseum, like this was a...
And they're in space.
Uh-huh. the galaxy.
And they got to solve some stuff. And what else did I want to say about that? Oh, and my kid really likes these characters. And if I would let him watch this movie, he would watch graphic violence.
This is true. Yeah.
Yes. It's kind of the same effect Deadpool had on
That's
first graders.
That's a tough one. I don't think kids really should be watching either of these movies. I think they're both really violent.
What kind of parent would do that?
I don't know. I'm on record as having had my son watch Rogue One, which is also very violent. But there is a cartoonish level to this violence in this movie. Which is graphic, though. I mean, that's no pun intended. I mean, comic book stuff can slay whole rooms and stuff in comics and stuff. And that's the thing. It's that 1990s. It's PG-13 so long as we don't show a lot of blood thing going on. But people can die in scores, but so long as you don't show it, graphically again, then you're fine. You got a good little rating. I can't recall if this was rated PG or PG-13.
PG-13.
It was PG-13. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I would say 13 is a fine age to see this movie. Even younger than that. But Guardians of the Galaxy existed as a comic book going back to like 1969.
Wow.
So this incarnation that you're seeing now didn't come around until 2008, and was a byproduct of a big Marvel comic storyline called Annihilation Conquest, and that's where they got this group of, and it wasn't terribly popular. It only went 25 issues or so, and Marvel Comics needed their movie universe needed a way to get outside of Earth, to get cosmic, so they said, let's make Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's kind of how this movie came about, and it's always been sort of a fan favorite. I really, really loved this movie. It's certain my bias is kind of on record. I do love everything that Marvel Comics is kind of doing. These characters, the way that you're seeing them on screen is vastly different than pretty much how they've always been portrayed in the comics. Like, this is very much like a tailored version of Star-Lord for Chris Pratt and for movie audiences. This is kind of
funny. Are they less funny?
No, I mean, in the comics, Star-Lord is kind of a jerk. That's his whole deal. But just the way, I mean, all the Marvel characters in the movies have been kind of remade, with the exception of like maybe Captain America. Like Tony Stark, that's Robert Downey Jr. Like, that's not the Tony Stark from the comic books,
right?
But I thought that this was a pretty good, straightforward A to B to C movie with like no big wow moments. There was nothing really, like one thing that I think stood out was like there's a whole lot of like, we're on this planet, and then we're on this planet, and then we're on this planet. And then the taglines of the planets and everything, which I always think is a little kind of a cheap way of establishing like a location. But I loved all the characters. I loved all the story. I thought the bad guys were friggin' awesome. And I think that's what it is. It's like it's just kind of, it's a cool movie.
I would say it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Right.
And I enjoyed it. Nora and I watched it over the last 2 evenings. And that's, I liked the realm. I liked the ships didn't really make me think too hard.
No, it's pretty much like standard aerodynamic.
And
other than what's his name, Ronan's ship, which I thought was cool. The dark, it's like almost a ribbon.
Yeah,
in space.
But that ship was actually penetrable. Was then hard to believe, it being so awesome.
Yeah, you can fly into it. Yeah,
but and there's less work to be done in a fun story, and so obviously I'm not really hanging up on that.
See,
it's weird though. Like some science fiction went in my mind, and then here I am talking about it, but I'm hard pressed to talk about it like science fiction.
I'm with you on that,
and that's what I'm kind of going through right now.
All right, there's a moment in this movie, and I don't, spoiler, but it's towards the end.
We're going to spoil these movies,
of course,
folks. If you haven't seen
you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy,
and in 2 weeks we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Do yourself a favor, check out Guardians of the Galaxy if you haven't seen it. It is a really, really good movie. But you take a movie where, okay, there's this MacGuffin, whatever you want to call it, the Infinity Stone.
Yep.
Okay? And there's this big bad guy named Thanos who's after this Infinity Stone, and he's hiring all these people to try and find it for him. Okay? You touch this stone, you die. You just, human beings, mortals, don't have the power to hang on to this thing. So, Peter Quill, Star-Lord, he grabs it. All right? We find out later on that there's something about his biology. He's a half-breed. But it was gonna, like, you see, it's tearing him up. And then all his friends hold his hands.
So lame.
Hold his hands. I love that. I love that moment.
I liked it because it felt good.
But it's not a sci-fi moment. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very, I feel like that moment, it's like
comic
kids
book moment.
Yes.
You're supposed to like learn
it's like
right
friendship has saved them all and something like that. And it's a very, I don't want to say immature, but it's a very heartfelt, to me, a very heartfelt comic book moment. It's like they are now this team, and they tell it really well in the visuals and the music beats. Not only is like the score in this movie pretty decent, but the soundtrack is pretty cool. Like it does what it's supposed to do. That
tied me down. He is abducted by a group of rummagers when he's a little, a 12, 10 something, and he has his Walkman with a bunch of mixtapes in it, and so that's kind of his jam and his link to his past. This is Star-Lord, also known as Peter Quill, and I just kept wishing they'd pick other songs. I was like, this?
Yeah. Well,
this is what you're gonna.
It went back and forth between.
Are those the actual songs in the comics?
No.
Does he have songs?
Invented.
Does he have an era of music?
That's an invention of James Gunn for this movie. James Gunn, the director, he wrote that entire thing as a way of, I guess, having something to further anchor the audience to. It goes back and forth between like good creative pick, which I would say like "Come and Get Your Love," the song that the movie opens up with.
I don't recall it.
Like he's dancing in the cave in the beginning. Like that, I would say was like a good pick, and then like really, really fucking on the nose, obvious like "Spirit in the Sky" or ABC 1 2 3, shit like that. Like really, like you could not have hammered that down a bit more.
The Jacksons.
He lost you on the Jackson 5.
Yeah. Oh man.
I thought all the characters were nuanced enough to be really interesting. Like I love, one of my favorite characters in the movie is Drax. Who's the green guy, the big muscly guy who's
blue with the red tattoo stuff?
Red tattoos.
Yeah.
And
he's great. He has great lines.
Great line.
He's an idiot.
His species does not understand metaphors. Like I love that. So like when someone says it goes over your head, he thinks that's
it does not go
over my head. I'm too fast.
Yeah.
He's got great moments.
He's awesome. Yeah. He's definitely fun. This movie was fun enough in a way that I was like, well, Nora, let's go see Volume 2. Like I want to see Volume 2. So in no way was this not a success or anything like that. And I guess she didn't say no, so it worked like that. She did have. What was her hang-up about this movie?
I'd say it was kind of a typical. We were talking briefly yesterday. It was a sort of typical nerd hang-up. How is it possible that these aliens are bipedal humanoids that evolved across the universe, which that's a like standard like Star Trek, really really hardcore, hard sci-fi guys go, Star Trek is bullshit because there's never be that many humanoids. There'd never be that many dudes who are like, oh look, I'm a human, but I got a little ridge on my nose, or I got a little point on my ear,
Or I'm blue.
or I'm blue,
Or I'm red. Or I'm green.
You've taken the trip recently with on Doctor Who. Did you catch Amy Pond as Nebula, the blue chick, the bad guy?
No, I didn't.
That was
the
Karen
the
Gillan.
other, the bad sister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's great.
No, I didn't catch that.
Oh yeah, I thought the bad guys were pretty good too. Like I liked Lee Pace as Ronan with the hammer.
That didn't work.
I liked him, man. I liked that he was basically a fanatic for his own race. There's some political stuff going on there. The thing that keeps that you, and I'm not saying this to say your point of view is in any way
Yes,
valid.
you are.
No, I'm not.
You know what? I know you are.
But this movie, it is a result of taking the ride of the Marvel Comics movies from the first Iron Man movie to then Iron Man 2 to then Incredible Hulk, Thor, Captain America, the Avengers. I mean, we first see Thanos in a post-credits scene in the first Avengers movie. Thanos.
You mean
is like
Marvel movies has been planning this the whole time?
No, they're all connected. They are all connected.
And are they all
flowing
connected
to each other?
If I read them as comics?
Oh yeah, they all take place in the same universe. That's the thing.
I guess that you make that sound like it was so much bigger than it is.
Well,
I'm
only
like,
that,
of course. Then
only that, like
you're like, wow, it's all been happening. I'm like, you mean like the comics have for decades?
But this is the first time
that's
this is the
amazing.
first time any movies have shared this type of universe, that there are this many cross.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Go
Once
ahead.
again, it's sort of a reiteration of what I just arrived at, but wouldn't they not accurately represent the stories if they weren't connected, even in movies?
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
they got to do this.
I'm saying it's impressive.
I was about to say,
who's-
you seem colored impressed.
I am. I'm totally
and
impressed.
blue.
I'm
you must
totally
be,
impressed.
Your name must be Dracula.
That's. Where were you?
Yondu
looking?
and Drax mixed together.
Dracula.
Yeah, Dracula.
So when we see Thanos in this movie, people who've taken that ride, that's a huge deal, because we know this guy is going to eventually fight the Avengers, which we saw before, and that the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy are eventually going to team up in a movie and come together as this bit. And that's one of the things that they have planned, is this big thing called Infinity War, which comes out
is already
next
written.
year.
I can read it.
It's dude,
It's a graphic novel.
Got it right over there.
All right.
Got it right over there. Infinity Gauntlet. Well, the title of the graphic novel is Infinity Gauntlet, and it's about Thanos getting all of the Infinity Stones, because that's his goal. His goal is to get all the Infinity Stones, collect them on something called the Infinity Gauntlet, which gives the wearer essentially control over time and space.
Okay.
And
I kind of thought one stone could hook you up.
No
pretty
way,
good.
man. No, they've introduced in the Marvel Comics universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've introduced almost all the stones in different movies. And this was the first time in that scene with the Collector, Benicio del Toro, where they are named and they are told what they are. That they are ingots that represent different aspects of the universe. And that they're fucking powerful, man. I mean, I got a huge boner right now just talking about this. I love...
Don't say that to me.
Love this stuff, man. It's mostly the ice cream. All right,
Yeah.
settle down. Okay? And that phone call with Vic, he's got such a sing-songy voice.
I thought of space operas when I watched this. The multiple species, the far distances, some world building, some world ending, cool places. What would prison be like?
Right.
What would the police react to criminals like? Finer details of world building. And
they
kind of
go a cool place. They go to a place called Nowhere that is a mining facility in the head
of a giant ancient alien.
A giant
race.
ancient alien. I remember seeing that, but not being like blown away by like we've seen a lot more creative design in other movies.
Well, I didn't need the design. That was actually one of the coolest details of that movie, because I'm reading Alistair Reynolds' Redemption arc right now, which is the book that follows up the first novel he wrote, which was called Revelation Space, and we're talking about millions of space years in the galaxy, and there are alien races that have come and gone, and there are places in space that have been warped and manipulated by older races, typically understood as more sophisticated than the races now.
Yeah.
And there would be such thing as like a creature so large that their skull would be a million years later a place to inhabit.
That's exactly what Nowhere is in the comic books. It's the head of a celestial, which was an ancient race that is long extinct. They used to actually have like dominion over these Infinity Stones. So yeah, that was a really cool detail, and pumped that it was in there.
Well, that's what I mean. For it to be condensed down, once again, it sounds like you could read all these stories and kind of add it up. But I wonder, sitting here on the table is the DC, the New Frontiers, Volume 1 and 2 that I returned by Darwin Cook, and it's basically, I don't even know what you'd call it. It looks like 60s classic drawings of Wonder Woman, Superman, Green Lantern. They're all in there. It's kind of origin stories, but I can crank that out in a couple nights. Usually I'll read a graphic novel in an evening and another one, if I have the time. And that feels great. It works. I also read really big books that stretch it out, and I'm trying to get my head around the comic to movie. Why, like we said at the beginning, or like I said, like, how come it feels like we're not talking about sci-fi when we talk about Guardians of the Galaxy?
I wish I could kind of like articulate what it is, because I agree with you. Like, I totally agree with you. Even though, like, I watched this movie and I know what it is. I know that it's like, okay, this is the point where Marvel Comics goes into their cosmic universe, because Marvel has a very Earth-based superhero universe, and then they have they're more space-based, and they have the ones who cross in between.
For the layperson, the New Frontier is DC,
it
folks.
Is DC.
I would not know that, but
that's okay. Hey, I love both of them. I am not one of those guys that says you have to choose sides.
Are there those guys?
You have no idea, man.
Do they have wives?
You have entered a larger
Do they have wives?
world right now. A lot of them do.
A lot of them do.
Yeah,
and they reinflate them weekly.
I think, for the record, I think Marvel Comics and DC Comics both have put out amazing material. I think as far as films go, Marvel Comics has beaten the crap out of DC Comics, especially lately.
Vic owns stock in Marvel, doesn't he?
Vic,
this is why he's
always wearing those Mickey Mouse ears.
Oh, I get it.
And Disney owns
He's got
Marvel.
the annual pass magnet on the back of his car, but you'd think he'd be up a higher up if he was that big in the...
Yeah, Tony asked me if I wanted to go to Disneyland, too.
We haven't established their relationship yet, have we?
No.
We don't know
We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tony, by the way...
Yes.
He, you know how you used to list all the stuff we'd talk about in an episode?
Oh, yeah, the show
bibliography.
Notes.
Show notes. I called it a bibliography,
That's
but
fine.
sometimes it's a cinematography.
Cinematography.
We asked him at a production meeting, a couple production meetings ago, that
He said he was going to take that over. Yeah.
we should have him do that.
Yeah.
Have you seen on the website how maybe just the movie
I
we've
trust
talked
it's getting
about?
done.
He's not doing it.
What?
Yeah. It
I
just
don't
says, boom, it's one title. I'm pretty sure we talked about more things than just hard to be a god. Or whatever.
I'll tell you, man, it's not like he's got a ton on his plate, as it is.
I thought he wants to learn some of this business. And we're not...
Isn't that what an intern is supposed to do? They're supposed to, run the ropes of...
It's not like he's getting paid. He's lazy on something he's volunteering to do.
Yeah. It's your time, Tony. All right, make the most of it, man.
Don't edit this out either. I believe we're doing you a disservice by not bringing this up to you, and I guess maybe this is the only way we can.
He does have that degree from ITT Tech to fall back on, and that's more than that's
he
more
told
than
us
most.
He told us that's nothing.
Well,
that's nothing.
It's something to him.
Yeah,
and maybe to his kids.
He said
Does
it's
he
nothing.
Have kids?
He said it's nothing. I've seen a car seat. That's all I know.
You've seen a car seat. So
I don't know. Maybe he has that
has
when he drives Uber and Lyft, though.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Good point. This is this is a Marvel Comics movie, and one of the main criticisms is that a lot of these Marvel Comics movies feel very much the same, and it is something that I do have to kind of agree with. There's a very standard formula that these things adhere to. They're for the most part.
Is this part of the
overly jokey,
the final solution?
And
that's not the words they don't call
that
at all.
Kevin,
no, I was going to say master plan.
Man.
Is it master plan?
At least the final solution. The good thing about that is you don't have to do it again, right? Because it's the final one. But
what the fuck does that mean?
I have no idea. I'm still thinking. I'm still pissed off about this whole show notes Tony thing. But this is
well, if you text him, but at least within 5 days he'll respond.
Right. That's another thing.
That's not like that phone's
reliable.
in my pocket.
Yeah.
Not like that phone's in my pocket.
Super reliable. Well, he still only got the car phone, so I don't know what the texts go to.
What's the thing that he blows on to start the car?
That's a DUI thing, man.
Dude,
this guy.
Vic insists that his is the intern.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
let's move on. What were you talking about?
All right. Anyway, so then all these Marvel movies are kind of the same, and I do think that that's true for the most part. They're very, I guess the best way to put it is they're very safe. They've got a formula. They're sticking to it. This one though was probably the most different. I actually thought.
Don't say that.
It's true. It's true.
You mean?
I mean, as
far as being different from the formula.
Different from the formula. Yeah. Yeah, this was very much, I felt like, a James Gunn movie. Have you seen any James Gunn movies before? No. You haven't seen Slither?
No.
You haven't seen Super?
George, don't burgle our listeners' time.
Slither is a damn good sci-fi movie.
Oh, it's sci-fi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see Night of the Creeps?
No.
Okay. We'll go. We're gonna have to pause.
Anyway, so
take about 4 or 5 hours.
What happened? What happened? Once again, space operas. Can they be condensed? Sure. Still, though, I don't feel like when I read a space opera, when I'm deep into something that's Alistair Reynolds, his Revelation Space World is 5 novels and like 60 short stories. Okay, so there's never that place I get to when you know they're gonna win.
But isn't there? It's just not that apparent as when you're watching a 2-hour and 20-minute movie.
And this begs the question, and probably in any story arc,
right?
Why put us in that place?
Yeah.
And actually, I would say no. I don't think we know they're gonna win.
When you're
as a
watching
matter of
this
fact,
movie,
I can remember Revelation Space, and there was no win as far as I'm finding out in its follow-up.
When you're watching this movie, where is your point where you know? Well, here's the Groot sacrifices himself for
that was nice.
Good of the team. That I didn't know was going to happen. So I mean, when we go they're going to win. It's Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, obviously they're going to beat the bad guy.
Well, but I'm sitting there going, why? I mean, so we can beat the bad guy. I just don't. It seems, and perhaps it's.
So what do you want? You want a wild bunch every single time? You want the?
No. I think what I want is to not feel like I know they're going to win, even though they're going to win.
Gotcha. And there is
right. And that's a formula that we're highlighting here.
Exactly. And this is why, again, like I want to go back to,
or maybe it's okay that they don't win
these formulas, but there's examples of this in stylized science fiction. I don't think I just invented that term, but Joss Whedon is incredibly good at this stuff. As far as being a film writer, a screenwriter who can take a ensemble story and have you not know up until the last, like, have you go like, I don't know who's going to make it out of here. You know, I don't know if they're all going to die. I don't know if they're going to die and still win. I don't even know if the bad guys are going to end up winning. You know, like there are certain writers who I think pull that off.
So it's possible.
It's totally possible. I mean, if you want to take the ride on a great sci-fi movie, Serenity, which is like...
Oh, yeah, why...
It was the movie sequel to the TV show Firefly.
Yes, okay, that's right. That's why I know about that.
So, that movie's fantastic. I mean, it's, you know, just... I can't say enough good things about that. But, and James Gunn, I think, is kind of in a similar style of that, but it's a safe movie. You know, it's a safe movie. You get to that point where you're like, all right, I know where this is going now.
But that's, okay, that's where... Once again, we'd already talked about this. Yeah. I mean, I guess when you say it that, I'm like, why make it? When he's dancing, and you know, when you know that planet Xandar is not going to end up getting destroyed, even though there are a couple deaths that you don't know, like, you know, I didn't know that guy was going to die. Okay, we'll take that one. You know that like Ronan's not going to get there and hit his hammer on the planet and kill all the kids and everything. You know that. So the moment you see Star-Lord doing his dance off, you're sort of like, now it's countdown to how they're going to resolve this. And I thought, like, those things, once that moment happens where they're all holding hands and there's that, like, really comic booky, heartfelt moment, I was still sold. But right after that, it's kind of like, all right, now we're just winding down till credits. Well, but so that happened earlier. But so me not knowing any of this, it's tough to really be into it. I mean, up till the prison break was cool. It was truly believable that Rocket could crack out any prison. So that didn't even feel safe to me. I was like, this works. Yeah. I think after that, I enjoyed seeing what I saw, but I was just like, well,
you know,
they're going to have some pushback, and then... I mean, right now, I'm in a part in Redemption Arc where there is a light hugger, which is a starship, chase to a system in which there are Hell-class weapons stored, which, by the way, is a great name for these giant kind of planet killers and stuff. And the chase is it's gonna take them 40 years to get there.
How does that play out on
someone
paper?
With like 4 years, someone who's 4 years ahead is leaving bombs and traps because they're all at such a fast trajectory that it's this chance calculation, and they're both these totally intelligent rival captains from the same. One has defected, and it is it's just crazy,
so rare
man.
When you see something like that adapted creatively into film or television. Like, it's really
and
rare.
I shouldn't be so naive as to
to go like to just be like like, imagine that pitch in a writer's room. Well, like, you know, hey, here's the thing, man. It's a 40-year faster than light starship chase, and it's awesome because that sounds awesome, and I'm almost like, I want to know what that's like on paper. It's a super fucking creative sci-fi idea, like the idea of just like, you know, maybe you're breeding your next generation to take over for like the pilot.
No, they've got hypersleep in a way that won't.
So it's the same guys. Okay,
and they've got
you don't
tech.
Have to be
they're
like on.
They're changing inertia, so they're like at a. triple and double light speed and stuff. Like they're like doing stuff
Yeah.
that.
So you don't have to be like on guard for 40 years.
But this still, and this is like say a fraction of the story.
Yeah.
And page turner it is. So I've wondered though. I was like, how could I make this into a movie? I've been thinking about that. And I think it could be done. And I'm trying like, how would you include everything? I mean, I could probably do a breakdown, but I won't for those who might read. Revelation Space, Alistair Reynolds, if you were one of the listeners who reads, you should go hit that stuff up, Emid, because it is wonderful, wonderful. And, what? So, are comic books not sci-fi? No. What? What?
I was gonna say, I mean, like we're circling around it, and you just pointed out a really good example of.
No,
like,
you did. It was on our.
No. I physically pointed it out. You verbally articulated a great example of some science fiction storytelling that is not in this movie, and I would say for the most part is kind of absent from comic books, and because
the beats have to be different.
Yeah,
but I think you've painted out a picture that says that it's by the time a James Gunn is making a movie, we might have assets or disadvantages.
And I don't want to make that. I don't want to pull that back as saying like. I think that this is a fun science fiction movie. And
like Passengers. Was Passengers fun?
Not really.
You can't. I know. Wait,
Passengers
there's nerd rage flaring up.
No.
He just flushed
Passengers,
listeners.
I did, yeah.
He's like, whoa, no. He's like, I can't give you that.
Like, Passengers was boring. Like Passengers was...
I'm going to tell you that those played at the same level for me. I like Guardians of the Galaxy more.
Yeah.
It was more interesting. I really loved Creatures and Rocket. I kept going. I mean, I think the cynic in me was like, why did Rocket have to be Bradley Cooper? Couldn't that be any asshole talking in a New York accent or whatever the hell that was?
Yeah. I thought, yeah, you're right.
I mean, maybe unless it's a ha-ha joke at a different level,
Groot
like Groot
was
Vin
Vin Diesel,
like that must have been funny just to be like, dude, we need you to.
Yeah, what's even funnier is that in the second one, he's like a baby.
Yes.
And he's got a high-pitched voice.
Is he the baby that they were growing at the end?
Yeah.
I figured.
Still Vin Diesel doing the voice. The high-pitched, I am Groot. But, I at no point in watching Guardians of the Galaxy, look, I mean, I don't want to apologize for it because I loved this movie. It was a culmination of like something I've been wanting to see for a long, long time. There's a huge smile on my face when Josh Brolin doing motion capture as Thanos says a line like, "I will bathe the starways in your blood." Like those are just things that like I've been dreaming about seeing on screen since I was 10 years old. Like
that line?
Totally.
You've said that line you've read.
Absolutely. Yeah. That scene of him in the throne is iconic. It's a Jim Starlin scene. From
you mean
the
a
comic
piece of
books.
art?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big smile and so good, man. But
well, comic books are sci-fi. That's for sure. I'm reading something we've typed onto our note, but
we definitely like we're over that whole like this is not sci-fi because it doesn't do this, this, and this, and this. But this felt to me way more like a comic book movie than it did a science fiction movie. If that makes any sense.
That's more like it, and that's kind of what I'm wondering. Like,
and I think that's why we're sitting here right now having this like reaction that we're not really able to completely articulate. Is like we're trying to talk about a comic book movie like it's a science fiction movie, and it's not. It was kind of like
I mean,
like holding hands and going like friendship, we will win, and everything like that.
But I don't believe that Guardians of the Galaxy, the comics, do this.
No, not
or
like
if they
this.
do
No,
do it,
no,
like
no.
I said, when you read New Frontier,
like there are damn good sci-fi comic books.
when you
like, there are,
when you read a graphic novel, though, something happens where maybe I'm filtering it in a different way, and perhaps I just don't like how it transfers in the condensed form so much.
And I think that is where a lot of it just goes like, oh, what are we doing here? Okay, all right, Xandar. Oh, home of the Nova Prime. Like, that's how this stuff comes across. Whereas, if I'm reading the graphic novel, we might have a whole issue that takes place on Xandar, so we get to know the world.
Yeah.
Before it's like the last page, and it's like, oh, now the Guardians of the Galaxy are here, and we'll find out what's going on in the next issue and everything. But I mean, you took the ride on the New Frontier, and you read the first graphic novel of Saga, and like.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic example of a damn good science fiction comic book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what it is, man. We're rounding this drain of just like this hits more of the same beats that it's an origin story, you know? Like it's a how did these guys come together? Who are they? We get to know just enough about them so that we like them, and they beat the bad guy. Like it couldn't be more of a
Well, can Kevin and George write a better Guardians of the Galaxy movie? Not a comics.
All right, so say we take like the classic hero's journey. All right, like we do a Star Wars thing with this.
Well, they did that.
They did it in a way. Here's the problem.
They got the okay.
We need more interesting bad guys. We need a like we had basically henchmen, and I think that these movies are only as good as their bad guys.
And that's
are.
that bad guy was not threatening. I knew he was going to have to be.
He wasn't. I'll tell you what, he was not threatening.
And
You're absolutely right.
And it was like it was a corn stalk ready to be chopped down, man.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, man. And sometimes,
I mean, like I'm picturing. I mean,
like Thanos with some stones might be harder.
Thanos is whole deal.
They can't just beat that dude in the next movie.
No. There's,
but you know that they can't because Marvel has already written Thanos.
Thanos' whole deal is he's in love with the personification of death. So his constant
Thanos.
Thanos is. So he's trying to constantly serve death. Do whatever he can to make death.
Already that's so much more. That's such a comic book idea. That's so cool when you read it. Right?
Totally.
Right.
No, fantastic.
Like, and I don't think that wouldn't make sense reading it in a space opera so much.
No. That's a very comic book. It's
almost like an epithet, like Thanos, he who serves death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
I don't know.
The Mad Titan who serves death. You know, like he at one point. I mean, you know, talk about a comic book panel. Like he at one point is trying to please death, and he just decides he's got the Infinity Gauntlet. He holds up his hand and just snaps his fingers and decides he wants to erase half the life in the universe. Half the life in the universe just goes away. And then it's up to our heroes to find out what the hell happened. How do we get this back? How do we stop him? And this is like the journey that these movies are going to take.
Well, I'll match infinity with infinity here.
Nice.
Listener, perhaps reader, one of my favorite things about the Alistair Reynolds right now is there's a ship that's been in both these books so far, and its name is Nostalgia for Infinity, and it's just for me that is like it's like first of all, who's naming ships like this?
Yeah.
And I know there's a breed called the Ultras who are not hybrids but spaceborns, type of an alien race, and kind of intellectually they have a nostalgia for infinity. Yeah. And there's some really other cool ship names that don't are I wouldn't say squandered, but it just happened once or twice. Nostalgia is there, but that's kind of, I think personally, I'm a long game guy, and so you know it's happy. I'm glad I'm going to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Well, you know, it's one of those things that like the condensed again. It's like, we get introduced to a character called the Collector. Oh, look, he collects things. That's really awesome. He's got people in cages and whatnot. He's a member of the Elders of the Universe, and we're never told these things. Like, if you know about his backstory, he's one of these guys who are obsessed with different aspects of things. There's a collector, there's a gamer, there's someone who's obsessed with fighting, and all these things that kind of you lose.
So Marvel has
that.
written a better Guardians of the Galaxy. It's called the comics.
It's called the comics. Yeah,
Yes.
like
Yes.
I mean, anytime you're taking 30 years worth of. Drax has been around since the 70s. Groot has been around since the 60s. Star-Lord's been around since the 70s. Gamora's been around since the 80s. Rocket. Rocket has gone through so many different iterations. First, he was a comic relief character named Rocky. And then they're all put together in 2008 as this. Let's relaunch Guardians of the Galaxy. You're gonna lose something in this translation. I think it was a damn good job for what they did, and I'm really, really excited for the second one too. Mm-hmm. And I love building this universe. I love taking this ride through all these Marvel Comics movies and seeing where this is gonna dump us out, because they're building towards a movie called Infinity War, which is bringing everything they've done together.
When will that occur?
Next year.
Next year?
Yeah.
I thought you'd say 7 years.
No, next year. It's gonna.
And then it's done?
No, then they go on to a whole other phase.
So they're just now it's just forever. They're like, these comic stuff, we're just going to keep making movies.
Yeah, this is just, I think, the world we live in until we're not living in that world anymore. Once these, there's some talk about there being a fatigue right now because Doctor Strange didn't do so well, and certainly on some level the quality is starting to degrade a bit. But then, you get a movie like Captain America: Civil War, which was fantastic.
So this is the comics episode, by the way.
It was,
you
and
clearly.
there is nothing
come on,
wrong
man.
with that. This is what Vic wanted.
This is what. God damn it!
This is what Vic wanted.
Damn it!
He wanted us
Listeners
talking
are glazing
about
over.
Guardians
They're glazing
of the
over.
Galaxy. He wanted
Speaking
us
of
talking
fatigue,
talking about Guardians of the Galaxy leading into Volume 2. This is what Disney. This is what Walt
This
Disney
is what Disney
wants.
wanted.
Walt
Who's
Disney
frozen
wants us.
right now in a hypersleep
talking
chamber
about.
on Nostalgia for
But
Infinity.
he's got a huge smile on his face, right? Because he's swimming in Marvel money.
Listener, if you'd like to email us at bddsci-fi@gmail.com and let us know what you think, or hell, write a review about it. Thanks so much for writing the iTunes reviews. I think with the 12 reviews we now have, we are the
14,
most
man.
famous.
14
We are the most
up to now.
famous science fiction podcast ever.
We've got 14 guys. Thank you so much. I think all these podcasts at some point say do us a big favor and rate and review us on iTunes. And a couple of you guys really came out, wrote some great reviews. We are aware that sometimes we sound like we are in a cave. The reason for that is that we are.
Yes,
we are in a cave in the Malibu mountains. It's the most we could afford. But dude, we've got over 1,000 Instagram followers now, and guys, just thank you very much. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, on the website you'll see our petition you can sign to get us on Fresh Air with Terry Gross. It might be a little bit before our time, but we are trying to amass those signatures. We're not even really sure that's how that show's producers operate.
No.
But
if you longtime listeners,
you
will
can't get a
understand
petition.
We'll know that Kevin has had an infatuation with Terry Gross for quite some time.
I
And
made
who
it, dude.
wouldn't?
So look, coincidentally,
Who wouldn't?
I was at work today, and my buddy, I said, "Man, do you ever listen to radio and just wonder what people look like?" And he goes, "No, not really." I was like, "You know Terry Gross, Fresh Air?" And he goes, "Yeah." I goes, "What does she look like, dude?" And he goes, "I don't know." I was like, "What does she look like?" He goes, I can't really remember her, man." And I was like, "All right, okay." So I YouTubed her and let it play. And
I think I know what she looks like.
and hold on. And then I go, "Right, now what does she look like?" And he goes, "Haggard librarian."
Totally.
But no! We looked at pictures. He goes, "No, I totally didn't see 12-year-old. She's like a cropped-haired, round glasses.
Really?
Androgynous.
Who am I thinking of?
Thing.
Eddie Linherdes? Then I saw
Eddie
somebody.
Linherdes.
I saw somebody
Here
do a
we
live
go.
show. We're going on NPR. Just so you know, I'm putting that out there right now. Busy Dads Do Sci-Fi is going NPR. It's going to be BDD.
We are the car talk of science fiction.
We have good one. Oh boy, go Boston.
You had to go to Boston.
Well, that's where they're
Well,
from,
you-
aren't they?
But we're not from Boston.
Well, you kind of from Boston,
We're
aren't
from-
you?
Oh, really?
I don't know. You're from everywhere.
I'm kind of from
You're
Kentucky
like,
too.
You're like the American dream, man. Born in New Jersey,
Yeah.
raised in Austin. Found your whole life in California. That's a beautiful story. It's like Barack Obama, man. It's a beautiful
It's like
tale.
the gold rush.
Like the gold
Going
rush.
internal.
Yeah. You came in here. You guarded the galaxy, and you found yourself.
Is that
Yeah,
really?
that's the best
You
I
can't-
can
you
do.
can't- yeah, you are tired.
I am
You are tired.
so tired.
Good night, nurse.
Good night, nurse.
Good night, nurse.